Hey, it's Kloss with the first Matchday reality check for an event. The Sadio Mane red card in the Man City Liverpool game. Now, first let's get our facts straight, alright? This was a red card given for serious foul play. If we're going by the letter of the law, that's what we're going to stick by. The other option was violent conduct, but as you can see here, the two things that need to happen didn't happen here. A, this isn't off the ball. B, this isn't against one of their own teammates. This is for a brawl, basically. So this is out of the question. So serious foul play is what's going on here. And a lot of the arguments coming out for why this is an obvious red card are just blatantly false. Some people say it's because there was contact made. Some say it was because it was near the head. Some say it was because it was studs up. And that meant that the referee had no choice but to give Sadio Mane a red card. But as you can see in the rules here, there's nothing here about studs up, there's nothing here about the head, and there's nothing here about making contact. And in fact, there's nothing here about winning the ball either. Now, there's no real other comparable send-off offence, so it's safe to say this is why he was sent off. The thing about this rule is the language is a little bit vague, so a lot of interpretation has to happen. Now, this is a lot like really any other law. There's precedents in set about what is considered violent conduct, what's acceptable, what isn't, right? And there's a myth that studs up means automatic red. There's also a myth that face contact, automatic red, and also another myth that the fact that it makes contact is the difference between being sent off and staying on. I figured a lot of people were going to question that, so I thought I'd bring a few I prepared earlier. Let's start with studs up. Now let's agree that there's a bit of a grey area here and maybe not everybody has the same opinion, but here's some clear examples. Studs up, that should have been a red, shouldn't have been a red, were red, weren't red. So we'll start with the ones that should be red cards. Here we've got Zlatan. People may know it, people may not know it, but look, goes in, studs first, clearly going at the player. There's nowhere else that his studs can go. I mean, and that, for me, is a distinction. Mane is clearly going at an angle here. He's not going directly at the keeper. So you can make a distinction between that and this one, as well as, of course, the famous De Jong one, which wasn't a red card. And I think he at least got a yellow card for that one. But clearly, also, there's nowhere else that his studs are going to go. There's nowhere else for his studs to go. And yet, somehow he was given a yellow card. I mean, this is one where I disagree with the result. I think it should have been a red card because, like I say, if you're going straight at the player, there's nowhere else for that to go, then, look, you're endangering the player as in the rules. This last one, of course, is just a completely blatant red card. I mean, he's gone in stud first, made contact, and has hit the head, so there's your most blatant red card. How about some contact to the head? Once again, we've got three great examples here, none of which got a red card. Here's this example of a Genk player. Jesus, that was just a brutal hit to the face there. Yellow card. Nothing else. Clearly, you could say it was dangerous, and that was definitely more dangerous than what Mane did. But we'll get on to what Mane did a little bit later. Here's another famous one from the same World Cup. Bicycle kick to the head. I mean, that was brutal. I don't think he even got a card for that. It was a free kick, but it's just accepted, you know, that these things, it's an accident, all right? He's eyes on the ball. If you don't see the player there, you go for the bicycle kick. I mean, it's just accepted. Look, whether or not they should be allowed to do that, that's a different story. But at this stage, there's no rules against that. Either way, the precedent is pretty clear. Contact to the head does not automatically mean a red. Now, it's important to remember that it doesn't matter about the result of the tackle either. Whether or not a player actually makes contact, then you're still endangering the player by doing a bicycle kick. I mean, can you imagine sending Ronaldo off for this bicycle kick? I mean, it doesn't make sense. The key here is endangering safety, and the fact is that there's so many clashes and collisions that endanger the safety of players, and they don't get sent off for it. The only reason that a player gets sent off is when they do something that's just blatantly reckless. Some say that what Mane did was reckless, but he wasn't running at a player. I mean, it's different. I mean, here's another scenario of another player who was almost identical situation. Nani, of course, against Real Madrid. Can't remember how many seasons ago now. He used to play for Man United still then. Again, same situation. For me, that is not a red card. His eyes are completely on the ball. Both players are going at maybe not 90-degree angles, but they're definitely not going straight at each other. Arbeloa really makes a meal of it as well. As soon as Nani notices he's there, he pulls out. I mean, what else can you do? But you could say, oh, look, these are all different competitions. You know, this is the World Cup. This is Champions League. This is some other league. This is the Premier League, and the Premier League is not accepted. Well, think again, mate. As if to prove a point, the next day, Newcastle, almost exact same situation. Richie goes in for a tackle, studs up, makes contact to the face, yellow card. Clearly the Premier League doesn't believe in an automatic red for that either. But then some might say, oh, but it was only, just a little bit of a tap and, nothing happened to him. And once again, the result isn't important. But if the result is important to you, you're only going to look a couple weeks back. It was tough to get footage for this because it's not as well thought about until this Mane incident happened. When Newcastle went to Huddersfield earlier in the season, 2 minutes into the game, bang. Tell me how that is different to the Mane situation. That's not even the best part. The best part is there wasn't even a card for that, not even a yellow card. Oh, but you could say that, oh, well, no harm was done, Did you see the cuts on Edison's face? What's that? It's a stupid argument that it's an automatic 100% red card when clearly that's not the case. Look, whether or not it should be or shouldn't be, it still needs to be properly defined. It hasn't been at the moment. Just like Gary Neville said, there's a lot of confusion over the matter with high boots. Players don't know what they can do, what they can't do. Either way, it's not clear. But one thing is for certain, there is no certainty that this is a red card, at the very least. There's a lot of dangerous situations for footballers these days, and each footballer has a responsibility to themselves to try and avoid that danger for themselves and for the other player, obviously. Looking at this situation here, Mane is clearly going in blind. He's not expecting him to get that close. Nobody was expecting. People that saw him going for Mane weren't expecting him to get that close. As you can see here as well, they're not going straight at each other. They're going at, I don't know, I'm not going to give an exact number on it, but it's closer to 90 degrees than it is a head-on collision. Mane wasn't travelling towards Edison when he made this tackle, so you can't say that he was going, that he knew that he was going to make contact with him. Edison did a lot to get into the way of that tackle as well. I mean, he had to come across a fair bit, and not to mention the way he approached it was a bit unorthodox, if not, well, naive. Now, obviously, this is a split-second decision for both players. Mane touches the ball and Edison cleans him up, red card for Edison. Mane touches the ball and gets clean past him, open goal, 1-1. So there's a lot at stake here, so you can't really blame him for going for it, and I don't think anybody does. But I can't say the same for Edison. Now, normally when a keeper comes out, I mean, there's not that many keepers that do come out as well as this. So I'm going to compare him to Manuel Neuer. Neuer knows how to come out, and when you header the ball, you try and get to it as soon as possible, especially when you're competing with somebody else for it. You spring out, you jump out towards it, You try and get it at its highest possible point. Now, Edison, when he goes into this one, for no particular reason, not only does he not jump, but he actually ducks into this ball, and he doesn't really have a reason to do that. He could have come out further and gotten the ball earlier and easily gotten the ball before Mane did, but instead he chose to stay on the ground, and it almost looks like he slows down and ducks his head into the foot, and this is where it's interesting. You can see here that Edison can see Mane the whole way through, and he can see his foot coming, yet he moves his head down towards it. I mean, normally the instinct is to move either away or at least above it, and not to mention, he's got hands. He can't touch the ball with his hands, but he can definitely block the foot. It may be a bit unfair to compare him to Manuel Neuer, but you can see here another example. I don't know what game this is, but clearly keepers, when they come out to win the ball, they jump up. And another example, he takes out this other player. I mean, isn't that dangerous play as well? Is that a red card? And the keeper gets up, fine. It's a much better way to approach this. But look at that criteria once again for serious foul play. In terms of lunging at the player, he wasn't going at Edison. He was going to the side. Edison moved into the foot as well, so I can't really see him being held responsible for that. It's obvious what that rule's for. The rule's for those real leg breakers. The studs come in straight at the player, at the leg, the body, or whatever. That's what that red card's for. In terms of excessive force and brutality, we've shown there's been worse cases, even in the last couple of weeks in the Premier League, where that is not punished with a red card. So to say that that is an automatic red card for that reason just doesn't stand up. And endangering safety, look, you can look at the fact that he was down for 8 minutes, but I really don't think it was as bad as it seemed, other than the cuts, which is just going to happen from studs. But I mean, players have got to take responsibility for their own safety, and if you're ducking into somebody's studs, expect that to happen. You're not going to hold the other person responsible any more than you would for someone that dived headfirst into a tackle that was waist high. High foot doesn't mean an automatic red, so if someone puts their head in front of a clear foot, no matter how high it is, then I don't think the other player should be responsible for what happens to them. If, of course, they're going out of their way to go into harm's way. But hey, even though it's all laid out here, I'm sure there's still going to be people that are saying it's still a red card. And look, I don't have anything against the referee for giving that red card. I'm just saying that it wasn't as clear cut as people are claiming that it is. But what do you think? Have you been convinced? Do you think maybe he could have just given a yellow card and not ruined what could have been a very interesting looking game? Or are you just going to jump back on the bandwagon and say, nah, he had no choice and blah, blah, blah? I think it's clear that he didn't have to give the red card. Whether or not he does, I mean, that's up to him. But I think, like Howard Webb used to do, a bit of common sense and let the game go and just let the players play. But maybe the rules should be changed. Maybe high tackles like that should always be a send-off. What do you think? Do you think they need to review the rules on high tackles and what's dangerous, what's not, what's red and what isn't? Or do you think the rules are fine as they are and they're clear and, well, it's pretty obvious what red card should be? Leave your comments in the comments section below. Thank you for watching if you got this far. If you like this video, give me a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Once again, thank you for watching, and hopefully catch you again next time.